not playing this year, and that has sort of set off a cascade of events where a number of high-profile good players have decided to also take the year off because of the fact that Brandon is off. And I'm not going to lie to you, these guys are my friends, and I respect their decisions and all that stuff. But I'm slightly annoyed. I'm a little annoyed that people may be jumping ship due to the fact that Brandon's not playing. I'm annoyed that that was the main purpose, I think, to play. And maybe I'm being a little bit too tough, but as a person, like I play football for a number of reasons. Winning is one of them. I also trust the people that are around me. I believe in next man up. Our quarterback that we're going to have this year is going to surprise some people, and now I have a chip on my shoulder to prove a lot of people wrong, including people that have decided to step away from the team. So some people are going to be mad at me for saying that, and I don't really give a fuck, because that's what this podcast is about. Like I'm gonna call it like I see it, whether you're my teammate or not. And I think if you're choosing to not play simply because Brandon is not playing, I'm gonna have a tough time to swallow that. So maybe rethink that and come be a part of it. For anyone else listening, I'm telling you right now, there's no better experience than the Central Alberta Buccaneers when it comes to football. And we will be surprising people. We will be having a chip on our shoulder and coming forth. And I've got even more motivation now because that stuff sort of annoys me. Now let's keep it positive for the most we can. Omar, how's it going with you?
It's going well. Like I feel you with having the chip on your shoulder when it comes to team movements and players wanting to go different places and everything. And I know the Wolfpack, we've been we're waiting for the snow to melt here in Calgary so we can get outdoors and get rolling with our outdoor practices. So that's one thing I know we're looking forward to. And just with all the let's call it AFL free agency movement that's been happening, we were definitely excited to see the guys we have and everything. And it's always something too where it's always easy to go to different teams and other places and go with players and everything. And I mean, end of the day, we're all men, so we can all choose. And I definitely have always been more attracted to the idea of like building something from the ground up and seeing something now where I've been on winless teams to teams that are below 500, above 500 and win. So I always enjoy the journey of what it takes to be building a team. And so I know for those who are looking at Wolfpack and everything, like we're gonna have a great team of guys that looking forward to build something and go from there. But we'll definitely be having chips on our shoulder, and I think that'll be our theme for the season, is just proving everybody, not say wrong, but just that it's just proving people points that we all have.
Well, let's have let's shock the whole league and have a Bucks Wolfpack final again, because I think that might have been one of the best championship games in the AFL history, to be honest with you. So let's do that, and we'll go from there. And speaking of championship games, our guest today was the quarterback for the national champion Cold Lake Jets. He's been an avid listener of our podcast and given us great feedback. And it's someone that in the short time that I've got to know, I've really just loved being around and talking with. And he even was reffing one of my high school games once, and always with a big smile on his face, always respectful, plays the game the right way. So we're really happy to be joined by Raishaun Provo. Raishaun, man, how you doing?
I'm doing good, guys. How are you doing today? How are you, Omar? How are you? Amari. Why did I say Omar? My bad. Amari, my bad, brother. How are you guys doing? I'm doing well today.
I'm doing great. I'm doing well.
Yeah. Ray, I obviously I didn't want to have to start this we had this podcast planned to do with you for a while. Things have kind of turned a little bit. We'll get into the meat of the podcast and your journey, but first I do want to start. You've had unfortunately a season-ending injury. So talk us through that. What happened, when it happened, how you feeling? What are the next steps for you?
Yeah, man. It's so sad to think that it happened, but last week, Saturday, we had practice. Now I was fielding kick returns, just like walk-through kick returns. And I planted my foot. I tried to take off, and all of a sudden I heard a big pop. And yeah, I tore my Achilles fully ruptured my Achilles. And it's a heartbreaking situation, but it's it's part of the game. It's something we all, well, I don't want to say we all sign up for, but we know the risks of the game that we all play. It's just something now that I'm gonna have to deal with for a little bit, or a lot of bit, but I'll get through it just like that. You know, like just with the faith, with my faith and my family and my friends watching over me, praying for me. Definitely a lot of support through the league as well, through the AFL. Just a lot of guys reaching out to me, saying a lot of nice things, and just keeping my spirits up. But yeah, I'd say yeah, I ruptured my Achilles on last Saturday at one of our practices.
Yeah, when I heard that, I kind of like gasped a little bit because I knew how much this opportunity was meaning to you, and because we've been chatting, and I actually, I think I was one of the first people you told, just because we were talking about getting you on the podcast and talking about the Cold Lake season, and I was really excited for you, and you worked hard to deserve that. But I think knowing you, a little bit of time, I'm pretty good at judging character, and I think looking back on your life, this is going to be a moment for you that you'll, as weird as it sounds right now, you'll be glad that it happened, because good things happen out of this. I tell the story of my injury in 2014 a lot to people. It was a terrible injury that I had: separated shoulder, knocked out, concussion, terrible concussion symptoms for months. But it put me on a path of finding food to fix myself, which has now led me into a journey of teaching other people how to eat. And I would not be doing what I'm doing in the world today if I didn't suffer that injury. So I know you're going to get through this, and I know you have a lot of support. And I know Omari and I were talking this off show, and it's pretty disappointed. And Omari, you got anything for Raishaun?
Yeah, just it's tough to hear, and frankly, I've been hearing more about this injury where ruptured Achilles, and as severe of an injury as it is, it's also an injury that we can come back from. And I've seen people where they come back from this and can get back to the same level, which I'm sure this is something too where once you have the surgery and you're feeling good and you're post 3 months off, like the sky's gonna be the limit, and man's gonna be going on a tear, wherever you're gonna be, either back AFL, back in over in Europe, US, wherever. So it's one thing to know where I know just getting to know you, this won't be the end. It's slight detour, but
slight detour, just the beginning of my next chapter, I'll say.
Mm-hmm.
So you're heading for surgery tomorrow, you said?
Yes, tomorrow at 10 a.m. I will be under the knife. Wow, for the first time in my life, to be very honest.
Yeah,
I can say this is like the first time in my whole career I've ever been like injured for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That'll be about 3 a.m. in Alberta. So if you happen to be up at 3 a.m, just say a little prayer for Raishaun and make sure we can get you through that. So, all right, let's move on to that. I'm sorry to hear that. Go ahead, Omari.
One question I got is, now just being out in Europe, what's been like the care like? Because that's now, it's something where you're outside of Canada, where we have free healthcare here. I believe they have free healthcare where you're at, but just what's been the care like, and how they've been treating you there medically?
Well, I can say one thing for sure: Canada has good healthcare, but it doesn't touch out here in Switzerland. That's for sure.
Damn, I knew it. Those Scandinavian countries do it right.
Yeah, man. Like honestly, I would say, usually when you go to a hospital, no matter what your injury is, unless it's like a life or death situation, you could be sitting in a waiting room for hours upon hours, right back home.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Well, here you go to the hospital, you tell them what's wrong, and 15 minutes later, you're in a room and doctors are examining what your situation is. So I mean, so far for the care here, it's been, I can say honestly, top notch.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I want to move. Like, listen, now that I know there's football out there, my wife can teach out there. I gotta look into this more. I'm on a move to Switzerland for a year, play football, and have my wife teach.
Man, I won't lie, it's wonderful out here.
Yeah, I've seen some of your Instagram stories, man. It just looks beautiful and peaceful, and yeah, it looks wonderful. Raishaun, let's talk about your football story. So as much as you want to tell us what got you started, what brought you to the AFL, and just kind of speak about your story. You're the only guest, so you can take your time and say what you'd like to say.
Oh, well, okay. Well, to start my football story, it's like it's usually like most of the guys that come on this podcast and that play in the AFL. I started around 6 years old. My dad threw me into football, and I played house league in Pickering, Ontario. I started as a strong safety, and but I wouldn't say I was afraid of contact or anything, but I was a little undersized at 6. So ended up, a few years, started playing safety there. And I ended up switching to the offensive side of the ball. Everybody likes to score way more than they like to hit when you're young, right? Touchdowns are way cooler than the tackle. So I ended up switching to quarterback maybe when I was about 9 or 10 years old. And from 10 all the way through high school, I played QB for my high school team and also for the Pickering Dolphins as well. Shout out to the Pickering Dolphins. They're now called the they're called the Durham Dolphins now. We took over the whole little city we have there. But so I would say I played a few years for Dolphins. Well, a lot of years for Dolphins. And then my high school, St. Mary's Catholic Secondary School in Pickering as well. And during that time, though, when I had tried out for Team Ontario and Team Canada, and I got not recruited, but I made the team more or less as a running back because I was a running quarterback my whole life. I like to run. Well, I liked to run more passing now. I'll try to get that Lamar Jackson going, not just a running back here. But so from there, from high school, I won a few championships in high school in my grade 11 and 12 year. Also went to the championship a few times with the Dolphins. We weren't successful in the championship, but we made it there a couple of times. And then from there, I got recruited to the University of Carleton University out in Ottawa as a running back as well, because my Team Canada and Team Ontario coaches were Carleton coaches most of the time. So they recruited me. They seen me play as a running back, and they thought I could be an immediate help. And so I played at Carleton for a year, just all my rookie year, every game. But then I had left university. I took a step back and went back home with my family and ended up going to culinary school. So I had a little hiatus for a year. So I'm used to missing a season of football. So this
Hold on. Are you telling me you're a chef?
Oh, I'm a chef, buddy.
My man, okay. I'm learning stuff. Of course you're a chef. That does not shock me. You're culinary school, dude. We got to get together when you're back, and we'll cook. I'm a baker. I'm a professional baker, so we can come up with some stuff. Yeah, man. That's what I do.
In my culinary course, it was the first semester we did baking, and then the second semester I went more into the actual culinary cooking and all that type of stuff. It was really good. Cool. But while I was home for that year, I just the like Teague and you guys always talk about on the podcast, that itch.
The itch, oh yeah.
Yeah, man, the itch was just I was just itching to be back on the field, and I was looking for anywhere to play. And I had a few friends who were playing out in the CJFL, out in the BCFC for the West Shore Rebels. And so, well, actually, let me stop it right there. I actually signed to the GTA Grizzlies. If you guys know about that team, it's a team in the OFC that plays in the CJFL. I signed to them.
Yeah. I know.
I signed there as a quarterback, but I don't want to say this. I feel bad, but this is AFL Uncensored. They weren't too hot of a team, And so I didn't end up playing for them, but I did sign for the season. And maybe I'd say 2 or 3 weeks later, a bunch of my friends who played on West Shore, they told me to come out to BC. I got into contact with the head coach, Charlie Cartolicia, and he brought me out there to play running back because that's where most of my film was. They also they went to the championship in 2016, the national finals. They lost to Saskatoon, but they had their quarterback all set. And Jamel Lyles, you guys heard of him? He was one of the running backs that played there. And so I was just trying to go and fill it in his footsteps, so to speak, right? And so after I got out there, it was me and that year, so 2017's CJFL leading rusher Trey Campbell. He was out there as well, and so but he got injured early on in the season, so I got to play a little bit of running back for a few games, and then I went out swimming in one of the lakes, and I stepped on a glass bottle out there.
Oh,
and I had a hole in my foot for like 5 weeks.
What? That's like gangrene.
Yeah, man. Honestly, it was that. Okay, even like with this Achilles tear, like I could say that was one of the scariest injuries I've ever had.
Yeah, man. Like that
because, I didn't know if I was gonna get any infections, whatever like that. But they looked after me, and since Trey came back from his injury, and he was the leading rusher, it was more or less the Trey Campbell show. So I just wanted to get on the field any way that I could, and so I talked with the defense coordinator, Shane Beatty, and he brought me along on the defense after my injury. So I started playing linebacker over there. A few games at linebacker that first season, and we ended up going to the championship, losing to the VI Raiders. And so the next year I wasn't really sure what I was going to do, if I was going to try and go back to school, if I was going to move back to Toronto and play for another team. But talking with Coach Cartolicia and mostly Shane Beatty, they showed me that it would be a better opportunity and a better life, which in retrospect it 100% was, to come back to BC and play for the Rebels again as a linebacker. So I did that, and I really stepped into that role of being a linebacker, and I ended up leading the league in 2018 with tackles. So you can say that's my first real season as a linebacker. So that was pretty cool for me. I thought, I got snubbed in the All-Star voting, but hey, that's life. It's always going to happen, right?
Yeah, I mean that's it. I mean, I think All-Star issues are synonymous with every league. Like the AFL is terrible All-Star selection criteria, and there is a lot of that bullshit. So I don't know if I've ever really talked to someone that played 3 positions at a high level that were quarterback, running back, and linebacker. That's kind of a unique combination of skills, but you do have the body and the physique to play all those. So it's like this kind of the weird little gift that you have, because that's very interesting.
Yeah, I was always stuck in that. He might be too short for quarterback, but he's definitely the right size for a running back type. And the way that I used to run the ball also translated to being able to hit on defense. Plus being a quarterback, right? You can understand the game a lot better, or a lot faster. It slows down for you. So translating that to defense, it helped me as well, knowing quarterback's intentions, route concepts, all types of stuff like that. Yeah. So the game really, it just came really natural to me. And I can attest that to I praise my father for that, because he, from a young age, he had me in football and watching football every Sunday. We used to watch at the NFL Network all the time together, and he was a really good teacher for me. He played in Acadia, and he had a tryout at Hamilton, the Tiger Cats, but he ended up tearing some stuff, and then he just never was the same after. But enough about him.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Oh yeah, keep going. Sorry, my
yeah,
bad.
no, I was just going to ask you. So, because I played in the BCFC. I actually originally went out to the BCFC to play for a team that was called the Abbotsford Air Force. And
Okay.
yeah. So they don't exist anymore. And actually, I went out to their spring camp in 2006 or 2007. I graduated high school in 2006. I'm old now, but I went out to their spring camp, and then right after their spring camp, they announced they were folding. And then so I ended up going to Chilliwack and playing for the Huskers for a
Okay.
year. Yeah, before I came back to the Wildcats. So I loved playing in the BC League. I played high school in North Delta, BC, for my grade 12 year for a team called the Sand Scorpions, and we played if you don't know, in BC high school they play American rules.
Yeah,
And
man. When I first got out there, I realized how sick that was. I wish
it was
until I
great.
did that.
You know what was great about it for me too is so I in BC the high school season would be running at the same time as the community season. So I was playing for two teams at once. I was playing for a team called the North Delta Longhorns in community
Yeah,
ball,
I
and
heard of them.
yeah, and they play Canadian rules. And then I was playing for the Sand Scorpions in high school, who play American rules. So I was playing both forms of football at the same time. So I would go to high school practice I would go right after school for 2 hours. I'd get an hour to eat, and then I'd head off to my community practice and practice for 2 hours. And like now I'm like, fuck, I don't know how I did that, like 4 hours football every single day and back and forth. But I found it was the best thing to happen to my brain because I was playing both forms of football at the same time and having to study both forms of football at the same time. And it was like, it just, I absolutely loved it because you got to see football from a completely different aspect. So,
Right. Yeah, for sure.
yeah. So what brought you to Cold Lake?
Okay. So what brought me to Cold Lake? 2018, when I was finishing up in my season with the Rebels, I was obviously looking to go to school, back to school. And at the time, we had a few guys on our team who had been reached out by Damon, big boss man Damon over there at Cold Lake.
Mm-hmm.
And so a few of our guys had went over there, and he also messaged me. We were actually in a group chat with maybe 6 or 7 of the guys from our team. And Damon, I know you're gonna listen to this, buddy, but at the time, I didn't think the AFL was anything. I didn't know what it was. I didn't have any like history about it. And all I ever heard like from people in BC who told me about it was, oh, that's just like a men's league, like, you know, beer league, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of how you'd say breezed it off. I wasn't really, I'm not gonna go out there. But at the same time, I didn't get any offers to go back to school. So I decided to stay in Vancouver, not Vancouver, in Victoria, and help coach the Rebels for 2019. Then COVID happened, and then 2021. So I stayed out there for a few more years, helping out coaching. And while I was coaching, once again, that itch came back to me, being out there practicing with the guys, helping out. I also got to run a little bit of scout QB for the team because we only had one quarterback at the time. On Rebels. So yeah, I got to run a little scout QB with the guys. And as I was doing that, I was just like thinking to myself, man, why did I ever stop playing quarterback? And so 2022 came, and what's funny is you guys, well, Tej, I know you know Wisdom, Travell.
Oh yeah, I love Travell, yeah.
Yeah, so he was my roommate in college at Carleton.
Oh, what?
Yeah, like me and Wisdom go back like way back, all the way.
No way, man.
Yeah,
This is
playing
what?
Yeah, man, playing community in Toronto together.
Okay,
Well,
can
not
I
on
tell?
the same team, but against each other.
Can I? Okay, this is good. I gotta tell you a quick story about Travell, and I don't know if Travell listens to the podcast. I hope he does, but I got a quick story about Travell. So, first, and then we'll continue your Cold Lake story. So don't forget where you're at, Ray. But this is just mind blowing to me. I had no idea. So I have a very funny story with Travell, and so April of 2021, we were gearing up for the 2021 season with the Bucks, and Brandon Lay was coming back, and in April, the field had just gotten cleared in Lacombe, so Brandon had asked a bunch of guys to come to the field and throw the ball around. And so we show up, we're throwing this ball around, and about half an hour after we started, this guy I've never seen before walks onto the field, introduces himself. I'm Travell to everybody, all this stuff. And I went against him in one-on-ones, and I'm not going to lie, like Travell's strength isn't, covering one-on-one on the corner. He's very good at a lot of things, but I beat him up pretty good that day at this field. And I, he didn't like me, didn't like me at all. And I wasn't even being like rude. I was just like, I was just beating him, and Brandon was throwing great balls. And we kind of like gotten this kind of a slight little bicker at the end after I had gotten him for like the 7th time that day. And he was calling me out, and he's like, I'm gonna jam you. Let's go get to the line right now. So we go to the line. He comes up to jam me, and I just swim him and blow right past him, catch it. And I just walk off and not say anything. And I'm like, whatever, it's fine. After practice or after the session's over, I like go to talk to him. I'm like, hey man, no hard feelings. Like, I hope you're good. And he just completely ignores me. Like, he won't even look at me. And I'm like, okay, whatever, man. Like, I'm literally in my head, like, this guy's a fucking idiot. I hope he doesn't show up. That's literally what I'm thinking at this time. So then we get to like pads, our first pad of practice. And he comes out in one-on-ones, and we're in pads for the first day. He comes out in one-on-ones. And I go at slot. He comes at halfback, and now halfback is not his natural position. It's not really a fair matchup, right? Speed wise, to be honest with you, it just isn't. But he wanted to do the challenge, whatever. So I beat him on a corner route, and I catch the ball, and like I take like 2 steps, reps over, and he comes and drills me from the side, like very cheap shot. And like my first instinct is like, all right, I guess we're just gonna have to throw punches at each other and get this over with. But I was like, fuck, I'm not doing that this year. Like, I don't want to start the season off like that. So I just get up, I walk away. And from that moment on, I think I gained a little bit of respect from him, because we grew throughout the season together after that. And then we actually became really close friends. And like we were each other's biggest supporters. We took pictures after winning the championship together. And when I found out that he was moving back here earlier, I'd messaged him and asked him to come train with me. And now we really get along. And I think he's a really great human being. It was just like we had this weird interaction at first, and we kind of fought through that. So yeah, just a side story. And now I think the world of Travell. So Travell, if you're listening, I love you, brother. You're a great dude. I love you for winning the championship and helping us win. And yeah, so that's just my little story.
That sounds super similar to the way me and Travell met.
No fucking way. Yeah, of course.
We started off. We pretty much started off our relationship. Started off as I used to torch him as a quarterback. I hate talking shit about this guy.
No, it's okay.
I love Travell, but yeah, I used to torch the whole league at that time, except for one team, Mississauga Warriors. I can't stand them, but yeah, we would torch him. But then we met at Team Ontario, and it was funny. We were roommates there as well. Mm-hmm. And like the bond just built. He's such a cool guy. Like, honestly, he's such a down to earth guy.
Dude, he worked at a doggy daycare. Did you know that?
Yeah, man. Like, it's to think that this guy, Wisdom, we used to call him like that. He was actually like an assassin on the field when it come to hitting people.
Oh, yes. 100%.
To think that guy with so much anger on the field would be a guy who works at a doggy daycare. A pet and wash type stuff. You would never believe it, man. And from there, we both signed to Carleton while we were both playing for Team Canada.
Yeah. And
literally, I think it was at the Team Canada game when we played the States. I had a touchdown in the game. He had a pick 6 in the game. And I think right after that, we both had signed to Carleton. Mm-hmm. And it became roommates there as well. And it's just he's honestly been like my brother for years now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a real dude. He's a solid real dude for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Okay.
Anyways, continue. That was kind of a side note. So continue. Back to the Cold Lake. How you got here?
But yeah. So okay. So after that first, after helping out coach with the Rebels and doing some scout quarterback, I was like, yeah, why aren't I playing quarterback? So back to the 2022 at the beginning of the year, I was just searching for teams to play for. And so I had reached out to Wisdom. Well, Wisdom actually reached out to me a few times, but I reached out back to him. He said, "Yeah, come play linebacker, come," because I had just finished playing linebacker, right, or running back, because he knew. And I was like, "Nah, wait, wisdom, man. I want to play quarterback, bro." He's like, "Man, you could come try out for quarterback too." But but in the grand scheme of things, I think people thought that Brandon was coming back.
Yeah.
So when I had talked to Mark Fay, yeah, he'd ask, he'd say, "Yeah, we really like your linebacker tape or your running back tape, and we'd like to see you, like, we'd like to have you as a running back." And I had asked him at first, but at the same time as all this was going on, I was also talking to my friends who played at Cold Lake as well, and they had just lost Spencer Bowman. He had moved back home to Ontario, and so they didn't have a quarterback at all. They didn't really know what they were going to do. And so during the same time, it was kind of like Mark was telling me, "You could come and try out and compete for a quarterback spot, but we have a really, really good quarterback here, just coming off winning the championship, all that type of stuff." I was like, "Well, yeah, he's a solidified guy. So, I mean, I could come and try and beat him out for his position, or I could just, go to this team with no quarterback and try and start something new." So at the time, I had asked Desron, Desron.
Yeah, Desron Kerr. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was the big ambassador for recruiting guys last year. He kind of started the recruitment wave for all of us to come out there, because a lot of us have played together our entire lives, not together, maybe on different teams against each other, but we've all played in the same community a lot. So his first thing to me was, "Ray, you can come play quarterback. Like, go right ahead. This would be your team as a quarterback. You'd come in, you could bring an offense in." And that to me was very enticing, to be able to actually run an offense and pretty much be a OC as well as play, right? So that to me was a big selling point to come to Cold Lake. The fact that I could one, play quarterback, and also like kind of bring my offense in, or my thoughts on offense, and kind of just start something new with Cold Lake. So I'd say, yeah, that's what really brought me there. And then from there, I mean, you seen all the guys we had on the team. I just started reaching out to all my friends who were not playing but had played with me at West Shore, or I played with in Toronto. A few guys from my high school that I used to play with that were like looking for places to get more film or to just be back on the field. And we just started reaching out to as many people as we could and just said, "Yeah, man, why not just come out and attempt to win a championship?" And we all know what happened after that, right? So
yeah, that was a good decision.
What one question I got is your first thoughts when it came to AFL. You were like, I guess from what the BC side of things, they also had their thoughts, and I know me and Tej have very strong thoughts on when people say beer league. But do you know what kind of the thoughts were for people who first came to Cold Lake from West Shore, and what they were then saying after their first year?
So when Des first played there, I think it was in 2019 was his first time there.
Yeah, that's right.
And he was just like you guys. He was very adamant to say, like, to let us know that this isn't just your yes, it is your everyday guy coming from work to play football, but it isn't your everyday caliber competition. It's actually a high level of football. And it took me a few years to see that. But I could say as soon as I got out there and we played our first game against Edmonton, and even just watching film from the season before in 2021, I could tell that the game was a lot more elevated than one would think when you hear, "Oh, this is just a men's league in Alberta." So I had a lot more respect for the whole league in total after after doing my research. At first, when I was just told about it, it was just like, yeah, whatever. And then again, too, I was only 22 years old when I graduated out of Rebels. And so I was still a kid, and people telling me to play men's. I was like, I'm not 40 years old. I'm not, what am I doing? Going over there, right? Like, and that's, that's just being a football player, right? Your goals are, everyone's goals at first are the NFL, the CFL, and just play at high level competition. And so when I first heard of it, I just didn't assume it was high level competition. But after doing my research, it's quite good. Like it's actually a really, really good league. And I just seen there was something on on Facebook that our league is ranked in the top 10. Like the CMFL is ranked in the top 10 of across all leagues that play gridiron football or American Canadian type football, right?
Yeah, it's because of, it really is because of the influx of talent and people like Desron bringing people in. And I think that's one of the main reasons of this podcast is to expose people to this league, because we get the same story, Ray, every single time we have people on here. Before they came, they had no idea what it was, if that it was even around. They laughed it off because people that haven't played in this league or played and weren't very good, those are the ones that are walking around saying it's a beer league. Well, no, you just sucked. And so you're saying it's a beer league. That's what happens, right? I get that all the time. There's like guys that they're like, yeah, I played in that league 1 year and it was just terrible. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's because you never played and you sucked, right? Like, I'm sorry, but that's the reality. Because especially over the last few years, like, first of all, Darrell Leeson is one of the best quarterbacks to ever play out of Canada, ever.
DL
in the history of Canada, period, hands down. Like, these aren't your average beer league players. You know what I mean? And then of course we've had this massive wave of recruitment. It's kind of started with Kurt. We had Kurt on 2 weeks ago with Kurt with the Gators, and then Fort Mac started recruiting with Dave Spence, and then the Ontario League was getting really recruited with the Montreal Transit at the time, and the GTA, and we just people started recognizing the league, and talent started coming here. Because the reality is where do you go? Where do you go if you're done university and you're 22, 23 years old and you're not quite there at the CFL? Well, now people are finding out about the AFL, and I believe if we do what we're supposed to do, and we'll talk about this a little later on your opinions on this, Ray, how we grow the league, but I can only see it going up from here. And so I'm glad people like Desron have been out there recruiting and telling people, look, this is high quality football. I'm 35 years old today. I would not be out here still playing this game if I didn't think it was worth it, if I didn't think that these were good level players. I love competition. I love going against the best players that I possibly can, which is why when people like Travell came, I was like, this is great. Like, in practice, I want to go against good people. You guys last year in Cold Lake, like, I bet some of your most competitive sessions for yourself, Ray, were against your own defense.
Yes, I could say that. Well, I don't want to be, it seemed like we just cakewalked it, but
your defense was the best in the country.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay to say that.
It was, definitely playing against like dudes like Teague. To say this guy played for the Blue Bombers and the Red Blacks, and now I'm sitting here playing quarterback, and I have to deal with him as well as dudes like Kent Hicks. Sorry that he went through the same shit that I went through right now.
Oh, shit.
It was during the Calgary game, the second game of the season.
Oh, man.
He ruptured his Achilles as well. He should be back though. He'll be back. Don't worry.
Yeah.
But just going up against dudes like that every day of practice, it definitely helped me grow as a quarterback and just like realize like, yeah, man, like just because you're done, you graduated junior and you can't go back to university, or you graduated university and you don't have an offer from the CFL or anything. This is 100% a place here. I mean, well, in Alberta and also in Ontario, it's 100% a place where you can go and have good competition and high level athletes that you're playing against.
Yeah, and people want to come watch, right? Like when you look into little towns like Cold Lake and Fort Mac, like people want to come watch just to watch the football, and that's really amazing because it is that good of a product. Go ahead, Omari.
And to add to that as well, AFL can help bring other opportunities like yourself going to Europe. I think in years past, guys got invited to like spring leagues down in the States. Those who come in and, commit to what they do and do what they do, it does bring other opportunity to keep continuing.
Right, 100%. Like even with on our team, we Elijah Watson, our tackle, he signed with the Elks after this year.
That dude was a beast of a human being, like just an absolute beast. Yeah,
like yeah. People will look at it and say, "Oh, that's just your everyday father son league," right? But no, like we have really hot. There's dudes that played in the CFL. There's dudes that have played across the border, played down south in Mexico, or in Europe, and they come back because they're looking for competition, and will always be competition in the league.
And I believe there are dudes. And I've said this for a long time. I believe there are currently dudes in the AFL that are just as good or better than current CFL players, but it's just about circumstances, and they haven't had that opportunity because, I look at someone like Ben Nadiak, who's played for a long time with the Bucks. I think he's a little bit older now, but back in his prime, like Ben Nadiak was a CFL quality receiver.
Number 17, right?
Yeah, number 17, brother.
Yeah, bro, that guy's actually a problem. I remember watching film on you guys. It was like, holy, this guy's humongous.
Yeah, he's humongous. He runs unbelievably crisp. Like I would cover this guy in practice because I told him this. I want to cover you every time because when I go in a game, everyone I cover in a game is worse than you. So if the toughest guy I have to cover is on my own team in practice every day, then the games become easy. Right. This guy, and I mean, he's a freaking monster. Like you can't defend a back shoulder fade against this guy. And when you add Brandon Lay to the factor, it's like, okay, good luck. Right. So yeah, he's a beast. He might be back this year. We're still kind of waiting, but there's so many guys like that. Speaking about your Swiss story. So let's talk about that a little bit, because I know there's probably a lot of guys here that are, similar to the AFL. They haven't maybe heard of these leagues. So talk to people about the league you're in, how you got recruited, and basically like how other people might look into that.
Okay, so well, for one, the league that I'm in it's called the NLA. It's the National League 8, the top league in all of Switzerland, and they have three. Like there's three. You could say divisions, but leagues. So we have the NLA, NLB, and NLC. So C is like Division 3. It's more like guys who just want to continue playing football. It like that to me would be considered a B league. I mean a beer league. And then B is kind of more competitive, but teams with not as much money. And then NLA is like the teams that, well, once you get to the NLA, you get a little bit more money from the league in general. But then it's usually teams who have the budgets to pay imports to come play for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so wait, go ahead.
You were on the A team. You were getting paid to be out there.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And so my recruitment process for that was actually very random. So I mean, so last year when I was playing Rebels, I always knew that they played football in Europe. I just didn't know that they played it in Switzerland. You always hear about Germany, Frankfurt University. Germany is really, really big in football here, as well as Austria. Like they're like probably the number 1 and 2 countries for football in Europe. And then there's leagues in France, Great Britain, Ireland. Like it's all over the world. Like, and to think that it's as big as it is, like the game of football is as big as it is. People in Canada, United States, in North America, you wouldn't really think, because all you know is the NFL and the CFL, really and truly, and all the XFLs, all the other leagues they have. But yeah, I could say it was very random. So I knew about this page. It was called Euro Players, and it's kind of like a Facebook, or like a way to get yourself out there to coaches who are out here, and it's a way for coaches in Europe to look for players in America, or when in North America, because it's not just America. And so I had always dabbled in getting one of those pages because I had a lot of friends from university who played over here in Germany and France and stuff like that. And I always ask them, how did you find your way over there? Like, did somebody just call you and see your tape? Because I'm like, how would you get your tape halfway across the world for any team to notice you? And so a lot of guys, they told me about this Euro players page, and I never really took it serious because like you can have a free account, but it's only like a certain amount of messages a day, or a week and stuff like that. And then, or you could pay and it's a simple $10. But at the time, as a kid, I'm like, I'm not paying no $10 for this foolishness. I don't know about that. I'm trying to go back to school or I'm trying to go to the CFL, stuff like that. And so it took me a few years to actually take that page serious. And then so after playing in the AFL with Gabe is you guys know, obviously you guys know Gabe. He's like one of the favorites on this show.
Yeah.
But so Gabe came from he played in Europe. He played in Germany. And so when he came, he really gave me the lowdown of everything of how to work this site, how to, get yourself recruited and show, how to actually approach these coaches that are halfway across the world, might not speak the same language as you, stuff like that. And so from there, he kind of showed me. And after our season, I had finally purchased the full account. That was a little bit grown. I was like, yeah, $10 is whatever now. I could do that. And then so I sent out a few feeder messages to a few teams, and just trying to get my name out there, right? So teams would notice me. And so out here, there's certain divisions, like in Germany, they have about 6 or 7. In Austria, they have like 4. And then usually in like pretty much in the rest of Europe, there's about 3 divisions per country. And so the higher division you are, the more capable a team is to pay you. Some teams could help you find a job and you would work, and they wouldn't really be able to pay you anything, but you'd be able to work out there and get a new experience. And for me, I wasn't really interested. Well, I don't want to say I wasn't interested in going to another place in the world to work, but I was, in my mind, I was like, why? I had a life back home in BC with my girlfriend and everything, and so I kind of said, well, I'm not going to go halfway across the world not to make, to work a job when I could just work in Cold Lake and play at home, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so with after sending out those feeder messages, I got a few teams that were on the lower division side that messaged me, asked me to come play for them, and I had to gracefully decline, because in my mind it made more sense for me to just come back to Cold Lake. And that's why Teach, when we were talking earlier on in the year,
mm-hmm.
I was still up in the air about going back to Cold Lake, because really and truly I thought I was going back to Cold Lake.
Yeah.
And so I think, so I sent out my messages in September, and then in February 20, like around February 20th, I was in Vancouver for a birthday celebration, and I got a message from my coach out here, Coach Alonzo. He asked me, "Hey, would you want to come play for the Zurich Renegades? We're a Division I team out here, and they offered me a contract, but the big thing was we need you to come out here the next week." And so it was kind of just like a holy crap, like,
Yeah.
oh,
okay.
I guess I have to leave right now if I really want to do this. And for me, it was just like it was an opportunity for me that I've always wanted in my life, is to get paid to play the sport that I've loved and put so much effort and time and of my life into. And it was something I just couldn't pass up. And so it was like I say, it was very random. So for me, I thought it was a write-off. I'm not going anywhere this year. And then boom, out of the blue, maybe 6 months later, 5 months later, yeah, hey, you want to come out here and play for us next week?
Fuck.
And I was like, you know what? yeah, man. And they were recruiting me as a quarterback, and it was I was like, wow, I always knew I should have played quarterback, right? And so that was like really like the selling point that this team wanted me as a quarterback. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna go out there and start my let's say professional career in football.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then just what was the last question was or the last part of that question was how my life is in or how Switzerland is.
Yeah, like how are you liking it out there? Like how are you? And obviously, as we talked about earlier, this injury has kind of put a wrench in some of the stuff. But like your first impressions of Switzerland, like what is it like living out there? And also, I want to know the language thing is interesting to me. Did like how do you coach football if you got all these people that speak different languages? So one, how is Switzerland? Two, what is the language situation when it comes to the team?
So, how is it in Switzerland? Switzerland is very similar to BC. So for me, the scenic way and like just how people move here, it's very similar to living in Victoria and Vancouver for me. You have the mountains. They got the like the yeah, they got the mountains, but you also have the cities. You have the farmland or the countryside as well. So to me, it just I didn't really. The only thing different for me is the language here.
Yeah.
But because I'm in Zurich. Zurich is a very multicultural and multicultural city, and as well, it's a place where a lot of businesses, like like from North America, will come and set up shop for their European branches of their business. So a majority of people here speak English, and I think it's in grade two here. Everyone has to learn how to speak English until they get to high school.
Oh wow.
So a lot of people are really fluent in English if they choose to be, because you'll get those people like if you were in Quebec, they say they don't speak English, but you know that they speak English because you can understand what I'm saying enough for you to tell me you don't speak English.
Yeah.
Right? So I know you speak English, but you just don't want to speak to me. I get it. I get it. Just say that. But yeah, and then so yeah, for coaching the teams, it's very easy. Like it's easy to just say what you want to say because football is a universal sport, and it's a universal language. To run a curl is to run a curl everywhere. Run a post is to run a post everywhere. To tell a linebacker to take his run checks and get out to the curl, the hook flat. I mean the curl or the hook zones. It's all the same. Just you might for us it's a little different because they don't understand that the 12 players, the third down, the motion. They're so shocked when I told them about the motions.
Right, because it's American rules out there, right?
Yeah, it's American rules here. So everybody here is taught American because the NFL had such a big presence with the NFL Europe League back in the day, and then also with them coming over here with their NFL European series, right? When they play their NFL games here as well. So and the American football is I wouldn't say it's really big here because football, but soccer is king here in most countries. And but yeah, it's not really hard. Yes, you'll get some kids who will look at you sideways like I don't really understand the way you're saying the words. So I usually just tell one of the guys who are better at English to explain it to me in the Swiss German. And yeah, that's another thing too. Over here in the language, they have about 4 or 5 different languages. So they have Swiss German that they speak, which is kind of like it's kind of like a slang type of language for them. They have High German, which is what they write in. Everything is in High German. They also speak like Italian German.
I feel like they're just all so much smarter than us over here in North America. You know what I mean?
Man, the school system here is way more it's way more strict and way more like they're preparing you for a job from when you're 13 years old to work for right. And like back home, you're free to do whatever you want until you get to grade 12, and then even still, you can still go to college, university whenever you want. Here, you have to decide what field, like what lane you want to go in. If you want to go to university and study, you'd have to have said that and went to a specific school from 13. And then there's schools where it's more like a placement. It's getting you ready to work. As soon as you graduate, you'll have a job that's paying you a great salary right out of high school. And but you're working all through school as well as doing school. And so like it's a lot more stricter. Like you can't fail here more than twice or you'll get kicked out of the school that you're in.
Yeah. So it seems to me like they North America's going down the path of everyone gets a trophy, and Switzerland says, "Fuck that! You better earn your damn trophies."
Literally, 100%. There's no good try ribbons. Oh, everybody gets a ribbon. Nah. If you want this, you better be at the top of your class.
The fall of Western society, man. I tell you. Omar, you got anything for Raishaun?
Just hearing how things are there, because I'm actually, funny enough, like I was actually born in England. I still carry my British citizenship and everything, so it's always nice to hear the other side of it, because I was kind of born in England, raised here, and I actually think and after the last season, I actually went to England to go see family and everything, and it was good to take my girlfriend along and show her like the differences of how like North America is and Europe is, and just hearing everything there, like how strict it is, and like I hear that all from my cousins and how things are there. So it is surprising, but not surprising, but just with different mentalities and
it's 100%
places are. They're way different world. You know, and one question I got for Ray, I know I messaged I think we were talking back and forth on this, but just with the play level and the play style of what you found in Europe. I know with injury, it's unfortunate where you were able to dive deeper into, but from what you were able to gather, what would you say is equivalent to a level out here of play? And do you feel like there's more guys that could play out in Europe?
So I could say this. If you played junior, if you played at university in Canada or America, junior college, over here you're looked at as like a high level athlete. To me, I would say that you have the size, the size of everybody is very equivalent to playing in the CIS, but the play style and the speed of the game is more or less like playing junior. So I feel like a lot of people back home would be very successful here, but it's just it's the type of mentality that you'd have to have. So what they're looking for here isn't just like a football player or a guy to come in and play. They're looking for guys to help coach your team that you're on, more or less, as well as help coach and develop the game for the younger kids. And also a good person in the community. Those are the three biggest things that I could tell anybody trying to come over here, is that's what coaches are looking for. They're looking for great individual human beings, people who love the game and want to grow the game, and like guys who are knowledgeable in a football sense, where they can teach people who don't speak the language of football as well as we do back home, and to help them understand more.
No, that's really amazing to hear, just with their approach to it and how they're very welcoming. Obviously, they want to build and grow, and they have a good understanding of like, hey, outside talent is going to be the way to grow the game to where they get to a point where they compete, or they just feel like, not say they don't need any more import players, but they want to allow talent to come in, which I think is a great mindset to have. Do you have any? I guess from what your understanding is, what are the import rules are when it comes to the Europe League? Like, is there anything that you know or can speak on?
Yeah, so starting from like every country has their own import rules, and then from there, every division also has their own import rules. So if you look at the top league in all of Europe, which would be the ELF or the LFA, which is in Mexico, which is the professional league in Mexico, you're like in that league, there's dudes who like Trevon Boykin and guys who like played seasons in the NFL are playing there now and stuff like that. So those top leagues there, they're trying to compete with the NFL and the CFL. So their import rules are very very, I wouldn't say laxed, but you could have a high amount of imports on your teams in the ELF and in the LFA. And then when you start going down, so in my league, Switzerland's a little bit smaller. So the rule is you're allowed unlimited amount of imports on your team, but the rule is you can only have one import playing on the field at a time. So with that, it makes teams, why would I pay a bunch of dudes to come play if I can only put one of them on the field at a time?
That's a weird bro. I don't know if I love that.
It is a little weird to me. But like, because like in Germany or in Austria, at the top leagues that they have there, their import rules are about, you could have 4 players and 4 imports, or unlimited imports, but you could have 4 guys dressing and 2 on each side of the ball playing at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And stuff like that. In France and in England, it's a little bit different. And then also import rules can mean you can have, like, imports are usually classified as North American football players, being Canada, USA, and the States. And Mexico. And then there's other leagues like the X League in Japan. You can have, as long as your players are not Japanese, they don't really, like, their import rules are very lax. You can have whoever you want on your team. I feel like it just depends on the league and how the league wanted to do everything. But for me, well, not for me, but like just in general, it just depends on where you go and what country you're playing in and how high of a division you're in, type stuff.
Well, I think that's really cool for people listening, because I think it gives people another opportunity. And like, what better opportunity to possibly paid to play football, to live in a beautiful place, to experience new things, especially as a young person. So I hope anyone listening to this, Euro players, you could just Google that. It'll take you right to the website, set up your account, like Ray said, and then just be committed to sending in that film and talking to people and putting yourself out there. The best thing you can do is put yourself out there, and the worst thing that can happen is people say no, but no is not that big of a deal. You just keep going. So
yeah,
really cool information, and really cool to see where football is going in the world. Ray, what's going on for you in the future? So you have your surgery tomorrow. What are your plans? Are you moving back here? Where are you moving? Or are you coming back to Cold Lake to help them out? What's your future plans?
Well, okay, from my surgery, for the first 8 weeks, I'm technically not allowed to fly on a plane, so I'll be out here coaching for as long as I can.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as the team is willing to keep me out here, because I know with the injury, they're going to be looking for another import to play. So guys, if you guys out there who are making Euro players, if you want a spot to play at, just hit up my coaches and I can put in a good word for you.
There you go.
But yeah, so I'll be out here for at least another 8 weeks. And then from there, it depends on if the team would like me to stay until the end of the season and continue to help coach. I would love to do that, because it's just another great more experience for me. But the season out here ends in near the middle of July. So I would still be able to, by the time I'm done, like by the time the season's done, it's time for me to go home. I would still be able to catch maybe the end of the Cold Lake season and I definitely want to come back and visit and help out as much as I can. And then also I'll probably go back to Victoria and have my physio there, do some physio stuff out there, try and regain my strength, but also work with the Rebels again. With you guys probably heard of him, Dexter Janke.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the head coach of the
Yeah.
Rebels now, and like he's a really close friend of mine. And so,
You got a place out there, or?
oh yeah, I live with my girlfriend out there.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
that's
Yeah.
where I reside right now.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
Toronto is home base, but that's
Mhm.
not where I live.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so honestly, my future right now is just looking at getting better, getting back to where I was last Saturday, and even beyond.
Yeah.
And just
Yeah.
trying to make it a comeback season of a lifetime.
Yeah. I love
Mhm.
that attitude. Omar, you got anything else for Raishaun before we wrap up?
Yeah, no, that's awesome to hear you're going to be getting back and, going back to West Shore and getting back in the lab. It's always good to get back to a place to regain yourself, redefine yourself, and looking forward to seeing what the next version you comes out with after this injury. I guess one question we didn't get to ask, just to because we're going off there a bit, but
Yeah, sorry
what,
about that, guys.
it's,
No,
it's
that's
all
what
it's all
happens on the
good.
podcast. It's all
It's
good.
all good. What areas, when you look at the AFL, would you like to see as an improvement, or areas that you feel the AFL can improve on to help attract more players, or just the image now from your perspective where you played in for a year, you had your, I guess, pre-AFL experience and post-AFL experience. How would you sum that up to, for us getting better here as a league?
The biggest thing for any league, but definitely for the AFL, I would say, to help grow the league would have more of a social media presence, not just by the teams, but a league social media presence as well. And it's starting with you guys here on the podcast, which is an amazing thing. And TJ, from when you first said that you were going to start this, I've been a avid supporter of this
Yeah, you
because
have been. I appreciate you, brother.
I think it's only, like you guys say, it's only going to go up from where it is, because we're a generation now of everybody's on their phone all the time. Everybody's on social media. You see kids nowadays in the States and stuff, they're getting recruited from elementary school because they have a nice highlight tape, or overtime is filming their high school games in grade 9, and the next thing you know, they're signing these NIL deals for $8 million a season type stuff. So
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
social media, even though I know a lot of people, like a lot of the older guys, they don't really see the need for it. I think it really would expand the league tenfold, just because if you want new people, because you don't want the league to stay being just the guys that we play with every year, and then when they're done playing, now who do you have? Right? You want to show that the league isn't, because it isn't a joke. You want to show to people outside of the league, and the young kids who are on that fringe level of, am I good enough to go back to school or go to the combine, or do I still need 1 or 2, maybe 3 years of film or development? That this is a place that you can come and develop. You can come and get film. You can come and have good competition at all times. So I think that one is the social media aspect too. Obviously, the trophy. We need a better trophy. That's
I'm with you on
right.
that. You know that.
But then also, like, for the league to grow, I feel like, and everybody is doing it in their own way, but as a league, I feel like we should go out and attract more sponsorships from the big oil well, I say the big oil companies because it's out in Alberta, but like, the big companies in the city that they support every other sport in the city, hockey, even soccer, stuff like that. Why not just, we all love football in Canada. Everybody loves football in Canada. Yeah, it's a hockey country or baseball country, but everybody loves football. Definitely in Alberta. It's like Alberta, Saskatchewan, they got the biggest crowds in the CFL, period. So like for me, I feel like social media and a little bit more sponsorship could just take the league over that hump, you know?
Yeah, I fully agree with you on the sponsorship. I think Amari and I, in the building up to this podcast and trying to figure out where we want to go, we've talked about that, even sponsors for the podcast, sponsors for the league. I think there's just so many avenues to go down to really represent, because again, we get the same story all the time of people didn't know about the league, but then, people like yourself, Ray, who have played high level football, you played for Team Canada, Travell Wisdom, we played for Team Canada. They find out about the league like, damn, this is good football. And this is entertaining football. And the better players we get, the more entertaining it becomes. And the more entertaining it becomes, the more fans we get. And the more fans we get, the more sponsors we get. Like, it's actually really simple math. And I think we're kind of there. And I'm hoping that this podcast reaches, the right person, maybe like the Calgary Flames billionaire owner or something like that. You know what I mean? So you just never know.
Drop a little 100,000 into the league, man. You got all that money in your pocket. Come on. Yeah. What about the guy who bought the Saskatchewan Rough Riders sign and paid for the Bonneville field? Come on, just throw some money over here for the guys, And
yes, that Bonneville field is amazing. Oh, by the way, before we go, that's a great story I wanted to tell. So me and Raishaun, we met up at that Bonneville field this year in September, a week before the national championship, because Raishaun was reffing a high school game. My team in Sylvan Lake went up there. It went to play Bonneville. And I got to say, Ray, I've never in my life seen a ref wear actual football cleats while he reffed. And I thought that was amazing, because you were hauling ass down that field. And I'm like, he's doing this to make sure he's ready for next week's national championship game. Like, you were hauling ass, brother.
Always got to find a way to stay in shape, man. Always.
Yeah, it's amazing. Ray, man, it's been great. Again, I'm so sorry that, it's kind of turned upside down for you, but I believe God has a plan for you. I believe you're doing really good things where you're at. I believe you're going to help that team in Zurich a lot. And I think you've probably helped a lot of people on this podcast open their eyes to new things. Thank you for being my friend. Thank you for being respectful. Thank you for being who you are. And I do have love for you, brother. And I hope, I pray for you tomorrow, and I hope all goes well for you.
Thank you so much, brother. Honestly, that actually means the world to me, man.
Yeah, thank you, man. Omari, anything for Ray, and then send us off.
Yeah, hey, I'm looking forward to the return. All the best of the recovery and the surgery tomorrow. I know it can be nerve wracking, but it sounds like you're in great hands there, and with a great cast there. And I know from everyone here in the AFL, we look forward to seeing you grow. And it's been great to where we've been getting to know each other more, and looking forward to that, and sharing ideas, especially on the coaching front. That's a big part where I come from. So it's going to be great to see you return here in a short time here, and better than ever. And it's only the beginning.
Honestly, guys, thank you so much. Thank you for having me here. Can I give a few shout outs? A quick shout out?
Of course you can. Go ahead.
Obviously, I gotta say shout out to my moms and dad, and who knows if they'll listen to this. But shout out to all my boys on Cold Lake. Love you guys always. Thank you for all the good word, the nice words. Shout out to the whole league, actually, because I've realized beyond football, I've made a lot of friends and friendships and relationships with people that I'll probably never lose for the rest of my life, and I'm super thankful for that, and just thankful for how much football has really given me in my life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, brother. Appreciate you. Amari, send us off.
Yeah. Hey guys, appreciate everyone tuning in. It was nice to. I know Teague mentioned we had a nice week off here. I think we saw some comments that people say they were in a emotional distress. So. Hey, I'm happy that we're able to bring this podcast and calm everyone's nerves and give them their weekly dose of AFL Uncensored. You can catch us here on all your podcast platforms, Apple Music, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and on YouTube as well. For those who like to go to work and not do work, listen to this podcast. Like, share, subscribe. Let's do what we can to help grow this in the league. And we're now just shy, I think, 60 days away from the season. So a lot of excitement building up, which is going to be exciting to see here.
Yeah.
Oh, lastly, guys, I just want to wish you guys both good luck this season.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
I think it's going to be a really competitive year, and I'm looking forward to it. So thanks, everybody, for listening. Thank you, Raishaun. Raishaun, best of luck tomorrow. And please, as soon as you're awake or whenever it's done, send me a message. Let me know how you're doing.
Of course. Bro.
All right, brother. You have a good sleep tonight, and good luck tomorrow.
Thank you. You guys have a good day.
All right.
All right. Take care.
Take care.